Ozzy, I don't know if you saw chat, but we do have quorum. We have Michael and Terrence, Dr. Cole here.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, grand glorious rising. Well, it's 10:30 and we have quorum. So they always say a good meeting starts on time so that we can end on time. Okay, so we're gonna open up with a welcome. My name is Ozzy Carter. I'm the Vice Chair of Policy and Budget Committee. And sitting in for Donta Davenport this morning. He will be joining us later. So in opening, we will begin with the welcome, introduction, and announcements.
Michael?
Good morning, I'm Michael Pitts, and I am a CAB member and a member of this subcommittee.
Terrence?
I am Dr. Cole. I am a member of CAB and of this subcommittee as well.
Melvin?
Good morning, Melvin Russell with probation.
Patrice? Oh, I'm sorry, I see Crawford here. Crawford is also a CAB member.
Crawford Carpenter, I'm a CAB member.
Patrice?
Good morning, all. Patrice Guillory here with Office of Reentry and Justice.
Monique?
I am Monique Tate with Office of Reentry and Justice.
And I'm Nicole Popchek. I'm also with the Office of Reentry and Justice. Back to you, Ozzy.
Okay, the next item on our agenda, Nicole has been kind enough to place the agenda packet in the chat. And in front of us, thank you. So the second item is public comment on any item under the jurisdiction of the Community Advisory Board and not on this agenda. Hearing none at this point, we'll move to item number 3, which is the approval of minutes from the October 15th, 2021 CAB Policy and Budget Subcommittee meeting, and it is attachment 1.
I have a motion that we accept, verify, confirm the minutes from the last subcommittee meeting.
I second that motion.
So there is a vote.
If there's no public comment, I can do a roll call vote. Okay, Ozzy,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Dr. Cole,
Aye.
motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Moving to item number 4 on the agenda, updates from CCP budget workshop that was held on November 12th, 2021. And I'm assuming the updates include the fiscal year.
And I just wanted to clarify, I put this on here in the anticipation that there was work that needed to be done that came out of the CCP last Friday. But most of the updates were already provided at the general meeting on Thursday, but you guys are welcome to elaborate more on any updates here.
I'm trying to get my side-by-side screen together. Ozzy, I got a couple comments, if that's cool.
Definitely.
So one thing that kind of stood out to me is that that the discussion at that meeting was really looking at the 1 year picture. And it's clear that for the CBOs, it's a little bit different. So ORJ did provide kind of a breakdown over the 3-year period, which I thought was wise and helpful. And that's kind of the highlighted piece that was there. I know it discussed in the full cab that it looks like, well, we're hoping that's going to move on. This is the request with 3% COLA. So the highlighted are the changes. But there was no changes that I felt like we had to work on coming from that meeting.
So my question would be, this is a voting item, correct? And we need to vote for approval of both the budget proposal and narrative?
I thought it was only a voting item if we had to make some decisions in the
Yeah.
subcommittee.
It was anticipation if you had to, but you don't have to take action on it.
Thank you for that clarity. So we can move to the second item, the update of the fiscal year. Is this one that's rolled all into one? This is the policy brief? Is this what I'm
Yeah.
understanding?
This was the policy brief that was submitted at the same time as the budget. Mhm.
And if I may, Ozzy, and help me if I'm wrong on this, is that one of the reason that this was on the agenda, some of it had to do with the time frame of getting the stuff in for our agenda. And it was, again, with the idea that if there was any updates or any changes we needed to make, that we would be voting on those. So I got it right there.
Sorry, yes, you had it right. It might be worth just confirming with this group who would be the representative to go to that 12-3 meeting. I know that Programs and Services was looking to have a representative from that subcommittee, just in case they get into the weeds with this. We don't anticipate that they do, but if they did, the restorative justice piece, we were asking a representative from that group, since they've done so much work around that, to come to the 12-3 meeting. That might be worth just confirming in this group who would join. what is that? Yeah, Friday, 12/3, and Patrice, right, it was moved up to 10. So you saw my invite update to give you guys more time. I think it's an extra half an hour added to the meeting at the beginning of it.
So Nicole, are you asking at this point for someone from the committee to volunteer to be a representative at that December 3rd CCP meeting?
Well, you can all go. But as far as if there's questions that came up, I guess as a whole for the, I don't know, Michael, if that would be you, that would join as the chair of CAB, but also a member of this committee, just in case questions came up.
I know that,
Nicole,
go ahead.
Nicole, is this a brick and mortar meeting or a Zoom meeting?
This will be Zoom. And correct me if I'm wrong, Patrice, I think the focus is going to be mostly the budget approval. So they may not touch on your guys' recommendations this time around, but there might be an ask at least to agendize it for a future meeting in 2022, but just in case.
Well, I expect I will be there,
Okay.
representing CAB. I know at the last meeting, I asked Jonte to also attend for 2 reasons: for expertise, and secondly, so I felt like I had a security blanket. So I think both of those things were accomplished. So I will be attending.
And I'll probably be in tow as well, just to get the experience, to see how all that plays out.
Is it worth, Patrice, discussing what some of the conversations came out of programs and services yesterday with this group around restorative justice? They won't unfortunately have a full body meeting before this 12/3 CCP. I don't know if it's worth mentioning some of the asks that came out of that meeting yesterday.
I'm sure I can just share a little bit. The Programs and Services Committee, as they were actually reviewing their work plan and looking at some of the recommendations that were developed both in previous CABs as well as the present recommendation around restorative justice. They were looking to possibly update that recommendation to also request of forming a subcommittee to the CCP on restorative justice programming overall, to kind of take the lead on doing some of that inventory work, identifying areas where restorative justice programming or services or just adoption of restorative practices countywide can be applied. So there was some discussion around when is the most appropriate time to raise that particular recommendation or that adjustment to that recommendation. So they may share during public comment at the CCP meeting on December for the December meeting, or wait for when that particular recommendation will be agendized in a future CCP meeting to share that update.
Thank you, Patrice, for that overview. So moving on to item number 5. Review work plan for future subcommittee work, attachment 4.
And so what you were scrolling through is the current plan. I just put together based on the conversations from last meeting, just some updates because goal number 1 and 2 are pretty much, or at least the discussion was that those are complete. If you go to the next page. This was just some changes of what next year could look like. If goal number 1 and 2 are no longer on there, and basically your goal number 3 becomes your goal number 1, and then your standing goal for the budget proposal. And I think I added on there the piece that Ozzy, you've been working on to partner with our job on the data listening session. But this is up to you guys to decide if you want to adopt this or change it or focus on it next year. Yeah, I just wanted to capture with some of the discussions that we had last time.
So Nicole, this is a voting item, correct?
It's not something you have to take action on. I just put it there in case you guys did, but yeah, you don't have to take action today. And I think I removed Prop 47 because, right, Patrice, that's no longer under the purview of CAB right now, right? Or it may be, but just not in the way that this action step is suggesting.
I guess I'm not quite, I don't know where this originated from, to be honest with you. Connect research focusing on the evaluation of Prop 109 impact on racial and gender disparities. So
I think there was a steering
47
committee that Prop 47 in their application mentions that they had a seat on one of the Prop 47 committee. So I'm thinking that
No,
that came out of that.
there was a program funded through Prop 47 dollars, and then Prop 47 in and of itself as legislation does have some impact on the criminal justice system. I'm just not completely certain as to exactly where this action step originated from or what was the conversations around it. So I can't advise further on that one.
So what is the process for remaining, leaving this on the agenda and for further discussion?
So if I can jump in, so for the committee members, you have an opportunity to now, if you like, to do some discussion around just sort of where things have, what's sort of the status of your progress toward these various action steps. One to include in, which is going to be talked about a little bit later in this agenda for your annual report as a CAB body. And then 2, just having some reflection about the work that you guys have carried so far over the year. I would suggest, though, not to make too many changes to this particular plan because it's for this year and we're almost at the end of this year, right? Or at least the calendar year. And you do have the retreat in the future, in a future month of January or February, depending on where it lands. And if members are going to change which committees they want to sit on. You know, you may want to give that opportunity to the newer members on policy and budget to work through what will be the work plan going forward for the new year. So that kind of gives you some context of how you want to go, at least for this meeting, or how you want the discussion to flow. So you have those options there.
So Ozzy, let me just intercept just for a moment. Nicole, the question that the statement just made by Patrice, and I had to take a little, because I was shifting from my phone to because my internet's it's not working too well again. Still working on that. So in regards to shifting, like you were saying, Patrice, I'm sorry. Most of when we had the interviews with the supervisors, they were stating that, you know, what has changed? You know, we're getting the information that we got last year. Can you give us some information that has changed? So is this particular to the non-change in reference to moving forward? Or are we trying to look at some things that need to happen that we looked at this year that needs to change, that we added to a lot of the, you know, kind of the talking points that we were speaking with the supervisors? Does that make sense, Nicole, Patrice? Am I in the space where you were thinking in reference to, you know, maybe an addendum or looking at things for the future? Because like you said, with the retreat coming up, maybe it can happen then instead of moving things now versus it just standing still where it is.
I'll let Michael jump in. I know he has a few comments and then I can respond.
Yeah, so my comment on this is that, and hopefully I'm understanding what the ask is. So I really want to look at it as an opportunity, the fact that there's kind of like some work to be done. So I know some things have been brought up in the last few weeks, like near the end of us, you know, with our deliverables. So for instance, so I think a good example has been with the whole restorative justice and social equity. That's something that we're actually supporting, but we haven't necessarily really defined it, especially when we're talking about restorative justice. So that is, I think that is kind of a benefit where going into this next year, CAB, that may be something, and that's what I see in this document as well, that we actually have some idea and some marching orders on, you know, what the CAB's focus is going to be on that year. I don't necessarily felt like that was the case with this one. So I'm really happy what we really developed during this year, with the fact that I don't feel like we came out of February with, you know, a real good sense of what we were going to focus on. So and then back to the whole point that Patrice made about the work plan. And I can say traditionally, I can go 3 years, Patrice can go back further, but traditionally, that was like really the first task of the subcommittees. Once you first met, was just to kind of define that and focus and then basically look at what the last few years were, and then see where those align with the focus and the needs of the CAB for that year.
Well, thanks for clarifying that, Michael.
I'm glad it clarified. I'm not always sure, but it's clear in my mind at least. So I don't necessarily think this is something that the subcommittee needs to act on, but it's just to be aware of, and it also helps lead us into the next agenda item, I think, where we're talking about reporting out what actually was accomplished and what what milestones maybe were met during this year.
So thank you for the clarification and the interactions. And that takes us into item number 6. Next steps. Lessons learned and annual report. And that's attachment 5.
And just to provide some context, this was our attempt to kind of show you guys an example of what was done last time for CAB in 2019. By no means do you need to copy this, but it was just to kind of give you a framework of the type of accomplishments that were described for CAB in their final report. I think Patrice had a great suggestion for programs and services yesterday in their report out, to just include this in the report out from November. That will go into, that will be reported out in the general meeting on December 9th. To include, your highlights from this meeting today, but also include your highlights, accomplishments for the entire year in that report out as well, was the suggestion. So what you guys did with your ambassador report outs, I just wanted to highlight that that's essentially, right, it would look like that, right? You're coming out of what your accomplishments, just bullet points of your highlights. It's not a white paper that's a 15-page document, so I just don't want to scare everyone. It's not, we're not asking for a white paper, but just highlights. Unless you want to write one, you're welcome to. Michael, you have your hand up?
Yeah, so just for the committee members so the idea is that each of these areas, there would just be some information that would be funneled to the full board or to our ORJ. And then I believe that's the assignment of the CAB chair to put together this report, and this is a copy of the one to represent the full CAB for the whole year. So kind of requesting information from the subcommittees so we don't miss anything. This got missed last year. That's why the 2019 is the example. And so it is something that the board is supposed to report, year-end report.
And this is due at the end of November?
I think we put a due date there for November 29th, but that would be for the individual subcommittee chairs to get that information to ORJ by then.
So is this the time that we're supposed to discuss the things that we've accomplished within the committee?
You can use this time for that. Like Michael was, or I think Patrice or Michael suggested that this would be coming from the subcommittee chair to us. But this is your opportunity as members of the same subcommittee to inform the chair or vice chair, which is yourself, accomplishments that you guys would like to include. in your summary. It could be lessons learned too, accomplishments.
Just to maybe spark the conversation here a little bit. This is Jill Ray with Supervisor Anderson's office. This year was a huge year for this subcommittee and CAB overall in the efforts to make changes to the budgeting at the CCP level. So I think that is, your collaboration with Isa Emmon Kraus on that subject is something to be noted and celebrated. So that's one area I think in particular that all of those efforts that CAB has been working on for several years, I think came to fruition in a large part this year. So there is an area I think that most definitely should be discussed and added to the report.
I do understand a couple of the great takeaways that were discussed. And one of those were developing an overage cap for the CBOs or public entities that receive the AB 109 funding. Also, the COLA increase was another, and Michael can help me on that to articulate it best.
And I know there's
Sorry.
another big accomplishment that it may not, that was going to meet the report from the full CAB. It has to be that it's a big deal. I mean, we advocated that the CBOs were insulated from this the budget cuts, and that came to fruition. I don't know if that came first from the subcommittee, but that's something.
I do believe it came from the subcommittee, and that is huge. That's exactly what I was going to say. And I know it was last year, but I think since there wasn't a 2020 report and it did affect 2021, it certainly could be brought up because you insulated yourselves from 2 years of budget cuts, really, because going into this budgeting year, they took those budget cuts and transferred them over to the other departments, and you all didn't have to do that. So it was a double whammy.
It might be worth it to also speak to the accomplishments of CAB from previous recommendations that, as you're saying, is coming to fruition now. So though some of you may not have been a part of that process in either the year prior or 2 years prior, some of those things are now coming into effect. And I think the seriousness that staff has taken to agendize CAB recommendations, where now there's more robust discussions that are taking place among CCP members, is a major step. So I think that's one thing. And then also, if I can toot our little horn over here, the expansion of ORJ, which the creation of ORJ originated from CAB. And over the years, CAB has recommended that we expand our breadth and depth in terms of our ability to provide ongoing support to a number of different justice-related initiatives. It's happening now. So that's to all of the work that you guys have done and also previous CAPS too that is taking effect now.
Patrice, thanks for mentioning that. I would like to echo those points because what has been instrumental for me coming on first year, and probably for others as well, for yourself, Michael, Jill, Nicole, to be on board, to know what has been the prior gathering and information and research, and where you are now and shifting in 3 years, 4 years, and seeing things come into fruition, meaning that there has been hard work put on the ground to get to this point. You know, so you all, I have to give kudos to you all for continuation of us being here today to pass the baton to continue on. So definitely appreciate that to all of you, and hopefully you'll continue to be there as we move forward and get the understanding that you have to pass that on to others as well. So thanks for that.
And I'm going to piggyback off of Dr. Cole. Thank you, Trailblazers, for developing a path for others to follow, and also being available to mentor and help us to carry that baton. Sometimes it gets kind of heavy.
You guys are doing great carrying it.
So Ozzy, so the idea was, I know some ideas, things were thrown out here. And just like Nicole had said earlier, that ORJ, Patrice, and I, the plan would be just that the chair would make sure that just a little bit of synopsis got to ORJ to help us put together the whole report for the full board. But I think we have some areas, some bullets to put on there. And also, I know, Patrice, you can be a bit of a wordsmith here. So I did write down that somewhere in there, we do have to acknowledge that previous recommendations came to fruition during this reporting period, quote unquote.
Don't quote me, it's close enough.
You know, just to throw in my 2 cents here, the annual reports come in many different shapes and sizes. And some of them come with pictures, and something just to think about going forward. If I'm happy to share with Nicole some other annual reports at the county level that other advisory bodies do. So it's just something to think about, to add a little bit of spark to the annual report rather than just a flat 8.5 by 11 piece of paper.
Thank you, Jill. I know this wasn't specific to this subcommittee, but that your first virtual retreat, I think you guys did great. Having that be virtual, not in person.
I'm sure the next one will be better.
It was great. And you're going to help with that, right, Michael?
So thank you for the information and input and clarity that's been added by the members and ORJ. So moving on, our next item is discuss scheduling for December's meeting. And I think from last year, and Nicole, you can correct me if I'm incorrect, the meeting wasn't held. We took a vote. So is this going to be an item?
Traditionally, CAB doesn't meet in December for their subcommittees. And so I know outreach opted into that and programs and service did. And then it would be up for the members to decide if they wanted to opt into this being November being their last meeting of the year. Unless there's something that the majority wanted to discuss further in December. And I think it was slated for December 17th if you were to continue.
The floor is open for discussion.
You know, Ozzy, I think that reporting piece is very large for the end of the year, getting that together. Now, I don't know if after that, there's more to discuss for the end of the year. Maybe, you know, John Tay just joined us, but at the end of the year to discuss. But I'm in agreement that November, you know, be the end of the year meeting, unless, you know, we need to get more into the discussion of the reporting mechanism, because it seems as if that's going to be kind of large on the table. And I'll pass it back to you, Ozzy.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to pass this back to Jonta.
I really, really appreciate that. Just give me just 2 seconds, just bringing up my notes. Apologies for being late. I had to go take my state exam for my LCSW. Thank you so much, Ozzy, for taking lead.
Can I add something while John Tay is getting ready?
Yes, Monique, go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you. So I know what has happened in some of the other subcommittees is they have emailed, they've allowed the members to email the chair with information that they feel are highlights. That gave the entire committee an opportunity to be a part of the process. Not meeting, but actually just emailing the ideas to ORJ, to Nicole or myself, and then, or to the chair directly if it doesn't violate any form issues. And so with that said, that could be an option for you too, and if you didn't want to have a special meeting to work on this project. So I just wanted to add that other committees have opted for that.
Okay, thank you for that, Monique. May I just ask which line item we're on?
Number 6.
Number 6?
Discussing the scheduling of December's meeting. There was talk about whether or not this should be the last one or if there's reasons to continue in December, specifically to help support this final report out. But that's where we're at.
And just an FYI, Public Protection Committee has been rescheduled to December 16th from 1 to 3. The normal date was canceled and November and December meetings were combined for the final meeting of the year for PPC.
Well, I know last year we didn't have the December policy and budget meeting. As far as the thoughts from everyone, did we vote to have it?
No, we didn't get there, and I don't even know if this is even a voting item.
No, just
the
consensus.
idea would be that the question for the subcommittee is, well, from my perspective, is have all our deliverables been provided, and is there a reason for that meeting? So, John Tay, you got volunteered for all kinds of stuff before you got on, but we did discuss the idea that the year-end report, there were going to be a synopsis of kind of what the accomplishments were of the subcommittee that need to get to ORJ. And we put that kind of on the chair to make sure that gets into ORJ.
Okay.
So we talked about that a little bit, and we also gave some some bullet points already. So, so my understanding is not just for the holiday period, but I don't know what business we would have to really accomplish if we did meet in December.
Right. No, totally agree. Okay, so I got it down 11/29/21 for the lessons learned, the report out. And I guess we're at the point where I guess feedback has been given for the December meeting and we're not going to have one. Is that correct?
Well, you got the officers here, you got the chair and the vice chair. I think that's one that, you know, you letting us know if we're having it or not.
Well, Terrence, are you, I mean, I wouldn't mind having a December meeting, just being, you know, just being straightforward. Ozzy, what about you? Did you say, yay? I mean, I do feel like it's a time to meet if individuals have, you know, the time to obviously discuss, you know, moving forward for next year. It also gives us a chance to really, you know, dig in more with, you know, ideas for our work plan. So if everyone has it on their time, I personally wouldn't mind. If they have time on their schedule, I personally wouldn't mind.
Well, I started off with the November being the end of the end of the year. However, that's why I say the extension is if we needed more information for the reporting and things you just added to, you know, I concur if the group concurs to meet in December. I'm open, I'm flexible to making December, you know, the last meeting of the year. You know, however, if it's not necessary to move into that and we can get enough information in this meeting and the reporting, I think that's going to weigh a whole lot going out, being the first time that, you know, we're putting this report together. Maybe we need some additional information after this meeting, you know, to get things in so we can get this report as robust as Patrice has stated, in making sure that we got everything included from our committee. I think it's necessary to do the December meeting. So I'm flexible, I'm open. If the committee is open for that, I'm in agreement, I'm in concurrence. So it's up to the rest of the group from there. And I'll pass it back to you, Jante.
Okay, thank you for that, Terrence. So it looks like, Nicole, we are going to have a December meeting.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that we were looking for so that the final report out kind of highlights before December 16th, and that would push out that deliverable further if we were to wait for your guys' input beyond December 16th. Just wanted to call that out. I think, and maybe Jill, you can clarify this, but this final report's specific to the Board of Supervisors and it's delinquent after January 31st, right?
Delinquent's a super tough word.
Just going off of what it said in the advisory handbook,
That's
but
harsh,
yes.
Nicole. No, so they, so many of the advisory bodies provide them in December and or January, or I should say December or January. Some
Okay.
take a little bit longer. You know, there's no punishment if you don't make it. They just try and get them all in the beginning of the year.
Okay. So it sounds like we have time. I think our target was to try to get in before the first of the year, but it sounds like we have time. So.
You're not going to make it before the first of the year because the last meeting is December 14th or something like that. So.
Okay. Okay. I think our goal from ORJ was just to wrap it up with this, since we have these members this year, just to kind of wrap it up this year so that we don't carry this kind of work over into the new year. But again, it sounds like we have time, so.
Okay. Michael, was you going to include something?
Oh, no, I was just actually going to say that the hope was to get that report in before the meeting would be held in December. So, but excuse me. But I'm open to meet if you feel like it's necessary. I'm good.
Right. And I can provide almost like just like a semi one by the 29th, so we can still have, you know, just any add-ons that we would put inside of it from December. So it would, you know, already sort of just be, you know, constructed. So. Okay. And
It's also
Well-
December 17th. Is there any problem from a quorum standpoint where people will be out on December 17th?
so if we got me, Michael, and Ozzy and Dr. and Terrence, then I think that would be quorum, correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we should be fine. And I don't want to jump the gun. I didn't hear from Ozzy actually, but she think she said that she'll definitely be attending, right, Ozzy?
Are you speaking of December 17th, policy and budget meeting?
Yes.
Okay, I was going to jump in and add that I could help you to try to meet that 11/29 deadline,
Thank you.
so that maybe we don't have to have the meeting. I think that we want to meet on the 17th. And I think the most pressing item would be to have the lessons learned in the annual report. And we got most of that information from this meeting. The things that needed to be highlighted is just primarily inserting that information for the report. What do you think about that?
No, I think that you're definitely totally on point. It makes sense. I hopped in late. I just wanted to go along with the flow. So, I mean, either way, I'm definitely fine if we don't or if we do. But if we do have a quorum, I'm just available. But I'm definitely going to accept that invitation with constructing the lessons learned and annual report. So we'll get together so we can definitely just have it ready to go. So. Nicole, I think with me, Michael, and Terrence, how many do we actually need for quorum?
3.
3.
Okay. So I'll network with Ozzy offline just to get it all composed. And I guess for the other meeting, we'll just basically just sit down and reiterate it, find out if we have any new ideas from here to there, and then we'll just get it submitted shortly after. It'll already be ready to go if that's okay. Okay, cool.
Sound like a plan.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I had suggested to some of the, or Patrice had a suggestion for some of the other subcommittees that you can just put it in your report out from November, your highlights for the annual report. You don't have to have 2 separate documents. You could just put it in your report out for November.
Okay. Sounds good.
And we have a new report out worksheet template. FYI.
It's the one that you sent to our email, right, Nicole?
Yes.
Right, I got it. Right. Yeah.
What, there's a new a report out in general or for?
Well, it's the same external report out template. It's just what's been happening is that our minutes have been also our report out in the general meeting, and I'm encouraging folks to have a more traditional report out where it's just highlights and bullet points at the general meeting. So I've asked all the subcommittee chairs to provide report outs to ORJ that are more focused and highlighted, and that we're taking care of the minutes separately in the meetings themselves.
Got it. All right.
Because as you can see, it's hard to, I think, for the public and the other members to really get a synopsis of what happened in the meetings by looking at minutes. So this would be more focused in what a traditional report out is actually intended to be. So it is a little bit of a shift towards the end of the year, but we wanted to get that out there. So we want to get this going now and continue it this way next year.
Okay, so are we actually at number 7? Or we think we're adjourning? Right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll adjourn unless anyone has anything else. Oh, okay, we'll adjourn to the next subcommittee meeting, December 17th, 2021. All right, thank you all. Have an
All right.
excellent
Happy
weekend.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Yeah, likewise.
Ozzy, good job, Ozzy.
I know for sure I'm stoked. I've officially passed my state exam.
All right.
Great. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you all. So it's going to be a very, very, great weekend for me. And yeah, I'm stoked, I really am. I've been working hard and Most of the questions was just trickery questions too. It wasn't like they really wanted the information. They're just trying to trick me. I sat there and I got about a pound of sweat off me.
Oh,
And I got it passed, and I rolled back with the biggest grin on my face, just looking around. This is what it feels like.
oh, good job.
Thank
Congratulations.
you so much. Thank you so much again, Ozzy, for taking lead on this. Just came up last minute and they had an opening for it, and I decided to take it. So thank you again, Ozzy, and I'll definitely get with you offline.
Very good. Happy
Congratulations.
everyone.
Have a nice
Happy holidays,
one.
You
everybody.
too, Ozzy.
Bye, everybody.